What's up, baby? Shout out to my babies. I just went and I posted a thing about a little bit of my experience. I still get nervous, obviously, because human hunting, and I still can't talk with too much pride. I still can't talk too much confidence, because I've been, so metaphysically fucked with, energetically channeled, presence tortured, everything, and trying to still hold my base. Come across so many people that can hold your mind or hold your thought form. And there is the America where it's you do have it, where you can learn how to learn the metaphysical arts and not torture American people, psychic ability and not torture the American people, move your consciousness from one area to another area, learn to be a good effect in the society that you're in. And I know for my teachings, it's been kind of it's been difficult with some of it because I think when you kind of see that city energy and you kind of see how it's kind of like programmed, suburb energy, how it's kind of programmed, and then a little bit of like the industry stuff and how it's like programmed, it's intimidating. It's very, very intimidating. And it's very intimidating, like when people could wave over your mind or, restart you or, pretty much mess up your head. Like, your thoughts are no longer your thoughts, like on this extra level. And, I know from my own experience, being around family and having like these hierarchies showing me, I'm not safe no matter where I go. Like I remember sitting around family and image being altered or like this channeling, and I'm like crying inside, and I'm like, what is this? Because I never learned how to channel. I never learned how to not like fully channel. Like I just know that before, when they were trying to like capture me again or whatever, they said I channel music, so it's really hard because I'm able to switch out my consciousness and keep it at a certain level. So instead of me like switching, getting into a negative thought, and somebody could hold my consciousness there. Um, but I never learned like these higher forms of alchemy or anything like that. And I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just drove crazy. Like they literally just drove me crazy. And, I still have that experience, because if your family's not doing plant medicine, if your family's not practicing, their memory, if they're not practicing visualizations, if they're susceptible to be waved over, you know what I mean? And that was one of the things that I hated about, a little bit of the industry. They're like, you'll notice that nobody's really caring too much, or, well, that is because other people through the metaphysical arts is making them not care, is projecting onto them, is pulling them away from you. And if you're not able to hold your consciousness and somebody else's, it's able to wave over somebody else's, especially your own family. And I thought it was, it's really hard. It's hard for, especially citizens that, come from a mother and a father that are weaker, that they're able to be waved over, that these American citizens are able to, these kids, they're kind of locked in being tortured by more elitist or multi-million dollar kids. These kids that are just raised in their power and community, and they got dreamscape, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. They got Reiki down. They got, whether it's under Christ, whether it's under spirituality of Mother Earth, whether it's under Muslim, which I think is still Christianity, whether it's Hindi, whether it's, any of these great things, whether it's any of these things. But these babies are really, these kids that are raised under their power really have the capability of messing up what I call my people, my citizens, the people that I'm connected to, like my angels, the ones that I've went to public school with, and I went to community college with, and I've gotten to see forms of torments onto the minds of the people, and it's that moment where you're like, well, that's still me. But it's like, well, no, no, no. You're doing plant medicine, so you're at a higher stature. You're at a higher form. And I think sometimes when looking into, because it can get pretty fun, like the timelines, quantums. Again, do not know how that works. I don't know how that works. Um, I don't know how collectively it works, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot of tetherizations, a lot of wave over the minds, collective minds, and I'm not sure exactly as far as the energy, core energy body, because I know when you got like a positive wiring in the mind, and again, there's people that learn the metaphysical arts that are going to be divine and beautiful to you, and there's people that are not. But if you really learn and you be able to see your core energy body, so if you're more positive, you're more higher frequency, and if you're learning like the frequency things like, well, I don't think it was Nutella, but the one that created unlimited energy. And but if you learn your energy bodies and you see that the mind is the thing that holds, some of your energies and the programs that you have, and if you're able to raise it on will, and I'm not sure if it's you gotta have like the psychic flushes, like where you gotta psychically flush yourself out, which I know that's what I've had to do. I've had to psychically flush myself out, but it's difficult again because it's difficult to look at depowered citizens and be like, hey, this is what you need to do. When it's kind of hard when you got collectives that, are remote viewing, are tethering to the mind, are limiting you from going and doing these things. And especially like millionaires, like these little assholes too. It's difficult when you want to walk in a reality and, there's this 12-year-old kid that could blow up your fucking head. Like, it's a challenge. It's a challenge when a kid was always raised in their power, but it's interesting too, because I remember my dad always wanted me to respect my elders, always wanted me to be like really good to women, be good to people, like, and have this set of morals that I'm good to my community. But then it also was very interesting because, if you come across a little kid that could fucking blow up your head and he's this snobby little prick, like, Dad, what was the values that you gave me? Because if these kids that are multimillionaires or raised in their power and they can control your kid, right? And they can control your grandkids, and they're little fucking assholes. Well, the reasons why they're little assholes is because they know that they could blow up your fucking head. Like, because you don't do anything to amp up your psychic energy or any of these things. So it's like, so what was the point of the morals? And so there are the schools that I have looked up as far as the metaphysical arts. However, when I did look up the metaphysical arts, and it was a couple of them were actually pretty good. I think it was only $100, and I was just gonna start doing my regimen of my plant medicine to practice visualizations. And again, like, I've had some that pulled me in a dreamscape. I've done a little tantra. But I remember one lady, she was like, oh my God. That's what she told me. She's like, she's like, that's very special. Like, you were able to do it. And so, like, I'm like, low key, you're the evil side. Like, you're legit like the evil side, because there's this whole world of other people. I believe, like, in Muslim or in Hindi, like, Karma Sutra, like, Tantra is part of the religion. And this bitch is looking at me and she's like, you're so powerful. Bitch is probably holding my head. She's part of this other human hunting collective that's like, we're about to move you. We're going to transfer you over here, but we're not letting you know. And then we're going to hold your mind. And guess what? You're not going to talk to anybody. You want to know why? Because we're holding you. But I'm going to say you're so powerful. And I'm like, feeding off the ego. Okay. I don't think I'm that powerful, love, because I'm not doing it like everybody else, you fucking cunt. Don't zap my head, girl. Don't zap my head. I'm not defending blacks no more, Latinos, whites. I ain't defending nobody. Do not zap my fucking head. Don't come at me like that. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not trying to fight to free the people. I'm not trying to help the American citizen. Well, I am. I'm trying to, like, tell my depowered citizens, like, you have the capability of coming in your power, so don't zap my head. Like, you have the capability of coming in, so just know that I'm not trying to fuck with that collective that's, I don't know, creating culture or waving over the minds, and I don't know, is all connected within forms of the government or not government. I don't know. Just don't blow up my head. That's all I ask. Don't zap me, you know. Or fuck. Sons of bitches. But know that you can come into your power, and no, I think it's still. I think even if some of my ones were really harmed by any group of people, any race of people, come into your power is the best way that I could say it. Don't seek revenge. Definitely seek for justice for the self. Definitely seek these things, but don't seek for revenge. I think. I think the worst thing that you could ever do is try to end war by creating more war. And I think that's not how you get peace and equality. And especially, you know, for whether it's any forms of races, whether it's forms of gay alliances, whether it's any forms of religion or any forms of any of these things, it's not seeking war. It's seeking to claim your sovereignty and you know, and coming with the grace of God, coming with the grace of, I love you. I might not like you, but I love you. But I'm not seeking to come after, but I'm seeking for that peace. And you know, it is depending on where you go with any areas, because you know, some of the people, and I'm pretty sure some of the arts, they practice the arts of war with the mind. And you know, I think when you get to these certain forms of hierarchies, you have more of this opportunity for fun games. It's just it's hard to look at a depowered American citizen or a depowered individual human, and say, you're okay. Don't seek war, but seek peace. And it's difficult when these kids were training with each other and then harming you. It's difficult for you to walk through reality and know that these multi-million-dollar children were harming you because they were blessed with that. Even if you were raised with good morals and beliefs, but you're being targeted and isolated and harmed by these kids who were allowed to do whatever the fuck they want in this world. It's hard. It's hard to still hold your morals. I know for myself, there was a certain level of like morality that I've had. You know, I do believe, you know, there's a certain age group of which, you know, one should be in relations with. I do believe that there is a certain of respect that you give to your elderly. I do think there's a certain frame that you have for the youth. Like, there's these levels. But of course, you know, it's different from when you have these forms of frames and versus other people. And I think we were talking about, we were just talking about the other day with a friend next door. And I remember, and I was out in, I was out in Georgia. And I remember being like, well, what about my friend Nicole? I was like, she was being molested since, you know, the age of like 7. I'm not gonna say, like, we'll just say hypothetically the name, right? And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, but she was wanting it. And then I remember being like, well, I get it. Like, we do get at a younger age when we're coming into puberty, depending on the different levels of the person. I was like, but that's the difference between a man and a woman versus that of somebody else, right? Like, just because this 10-year-old boy's got a heart on doesn't mean that this woman who's 22 years old is gonna have sex with him. You know, just because this, you know, little girl who's 10 years old, just because she's getting sexually aroused, because she's getting in her hormones, doesn't mean that this 20-year-old man is going to sleep with her, or 30, or this 30-year-old woman. So it's those forms where it's like, it gets twisted. Ayla. And then so.
Do you need this light?
Yeah, for a second. So it was a reminder, and it was like these are the differences between the people. And I know that when the channeling in the minds and the deceptions, it's these people could really do harms onto that of the mind, and brainwashing. So you got to be very careful with collective minds, and because if you join a group, be mindful of the group that you're joining. And if they're trying to justify any forms of harms onto the youth, if they're trying to justify any forms of the harms of the youth by pointing the finger at the youth, at depowered American citizens or depowered citizens, or weakened vessels or beings that come from a lineage of depowerization, and say the reason why the girl got raped is because the shorts were too short, or the reasons why the boy got raped was because a boy can't get raped, a woman can't rape a boy, or there's, if you got this uglier thing that's literally looking at a big age difference and then claiming that it's because the younger one. Like, I get it if maybe it was from like a family that was in their power, and it's this 13-year-old girl or boy that's learned their psychic ability, dreamscape, tellerizations, and they're going after like some older person that obviously doesn't move objects, clairvoyant, then that's a different situation. You know what I'm saying? But then now we're gonna be dealing with the hierarchies and but that one's different, because then you got like this little 15-year-old, 16-year-old that's remote viewing, channeling in and doing these things, and actually causing maybe a psychosis on somebody that's not in their power. And that's another big challenge, and I think that's another thing that I think America, if America's going to take credit for depowering the citizens, well, America has to take credit for even the children that are raised in their power that's causing harm on the depowered adults as well. And the forms of justice that needs to go, because if we're out there and we're fighting for equality, that no harm's being done to the youth, well, no harm should be done to the adults either. But it's not really a gray area, but it's an actual area of truth where, there are different levels of spiritual practices. And, this one individual could be a lot younger, but further advanced than somebody else that's older, and vice versa. We all know like the story of, the younger woman, or it's normally a woman, going after the older guy that gets all the money and he's gonna die because he's older, or it's the older guy that's controlling the woman that's of youth. You know what I'm saying? So it does, I think that we don't touch basis enough on the people that are truly raised in their power, and the ones that are actually raised depowered. And if we're looking for justice, if we're looking for equality and we're looking for equality, then I think it would have to come from a standpoint where everybody in the community is at somewhat of a equal level of, at least psychic awareness or tellerizations and abilities. So I don't know. It's difficult subjects. I love you so much.